Hello. Today I'm going to show you how to train a part in the Dominion Vision software. When you initially start, you need to make sure you have your part prepared in the station, and you need to make sure the machine is completely out of auto. To do this in the Dominion software, you right-click on the station icon and select Manual. You'll also need to do this on the corresponding HMI display. The first thing we want to do is set up our exposure for our part. So we will go to the camera section. You select your camera that you would like to use, and you will see a live image in this view here. If it's not streaming, you can click on the Start Acquire icon located here. If you look here, you'll see the frame rates is running and collecting images. Once you're sure you're getting new images in, you can adjust your exposure to get the proper value that you need to train your part. And you must note this value because you're going to have to use it in the part editor. And you don't want to go too dark, and you don't want to go too bright. You want to get a nice, clean image. Now once you're happy with that, note your exposure value here. You'll see mine is 16,000. Now we go to our main automation screen, select our image that we were using. Make sure you select a view, and you'll know you have it selected because you'll see the indicator here, and click on Acquire Image. Now we need to save this image to use later for the models. So save this image. And typically we would do this in a location that you'll remember. And I usually do it by the part name. So we're going to use AA for this sample. And I will also typically put the exposure in the file name so you can use for later reference. Click on Save. Now we have our image. We can go to Models. Now we're going to do a new database. This DB name, you can make it anything you want, but it should be something that resembles the part code that you'll be receiving from broadcast. So I'm going to make this AA. Click Add, and this is where we're going to use our image. Now for the model name, I would just do model 1. Most of these will just have one model, but you can add corresponding models if needed, and you can do model 1, model 2, so on and so forth. Now we need to adjust our origin. I'm going to put this right in the middle of the bore by using your coordinate adjustment. Get this as close as you can to the center if you need to. You can see you can zoom here. That looks really good. And you can zoom extents to go all the way out. And now we're going to adjust our bounding area. This is basically the area that the model is going to be generated from. You want to remove all the outside edges so it's not picking up any of your conveyor or the floor or anything like that. So we want to go just on the outside edge of our part. Okay. By default, most of all these other values, the angle, your contrast features, you leave those alone. Those are for special conditions, which you typically do not use. Now, when you're ready, you click on Build, and you can see the green edges are what it is picking up. The pink edges are what you can add still. We typically do not use bolt holes or bores if we don't have to, or the outside diameter, because you're looking for a unique edge, a repeatable edge to train. You have two different panes you're going to go into. You've got outline and detail. Detail is a little more coarse. It gives you better edges, but you have to clean up both. What I typically do is zoom in, and you want to get rid of stuff that's looks like it may be shadows. It's not really the part itself. Outline's a little more difficult because it doesn't really pick up that many edges. You can see this, there's really nothing here. And if you zoom in, you can see my cursor changes to a minus. Add it back in, you can see it's now a plus. And we could probably clean this up a little bit better, but for this purpose of this video, we'll stop there. Go to our detail, and you can see there's a lot of extra edges that you do not need. This is your valve. Remove stuff like that. You'll see all these extra edges that you want to get rid of. The more you have, the slower it's going to be, and the less reliable it's going to be. Your shadowing may change, your lighting may change slightly, so you want to get rid of all this miscellaneous items. Again, for this purpose of this video, we could make it a little better, but we're going to stop there. So since you get the idea, and you click at it, everything looks pretty good. And you want to use this icon here to save this database. If you're not happy with it, you can close it and start over. But for me, this looks pretty good, so let's save. Now we are going to go to the part editor. So the database you can actually use on any part if you would like, but try to stay consistent with what you're going to receive with broadcast. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to click on Add, your part code that broadcast will be sending, any sort of description you'd like to use that's meaningful to the part. Under functions here, I'm going to click on Add. It will auto-populate all the routines that you may or may not want to run within the Vision system. The ones that are required that you have to do, you'll see this is pink. That means there's an error. Under the Acquire image, the first thing you need to do is select the source. Since we only have one camera, it's very simple. If you had two, you need to note which one you're using and where it is. This is their serial number in the model. So I will select this one here. And you also need to set your exposure. And if you can't, if this is a couple, 5 or 10 off, it's okay. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, because sometimes it's hard to get it there. Now under our locate part, the other requirement is the database source. This is where we just added our model. And you'll see there's that AA. Again, default values in here are usually optimal. The only one that you would typically lower would be your minimum model percentage. You can see we got it defaulted to 65, which is usually pretty accurate for most parts. But you may find you have to go down to 60. Locating the arc, you can see there's no errors here, so it's not required. But I'm going to go ahead and quickly train it. This gives you a feature here so you can acquire an image to see where your positioning is. You see this green is your arc. So again, you have to adjust your origin, X and Y, to be in the center of the part. It's easier to preset up all your parts so later you can enable them and not have to completely reset them up if you need them. You can zoom in, see how close I am to the edges. You can see that arc is pretty darn close to the outside edge. Looks good. If you were going to run it, these are the parameters you would adjust. Your expected rate, as you could see it as I was adjusting here, it automatically populated here. I would enable it if I was going to run it, but for this purpose I don't need it. Now our grayscale check, by default, again, no errors here, but I'm going to preset it up. Now we have two different ways this tool runs. You can check a single position, or you can do a circular search, which will check in this amount of, the test positions that you specify, which are typically your spokes. So if it's a 5-spoke, you put 5-spoke, you would enable this, and it would automatically calculate out and check each spoke. For this purpose, I'm just going to do one search area for you. Okay, so this one's our reference point. Now we're going to change our origin of our search area. And it's a little big. You want to go just on the area that you're going to search. And zoom out so you can see. And this is the area that we would search. If I would enable it to look at multiple locations, I would go to 5 for my spoke positions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and enable it. Now again, for this purpose, I'm not going to because I do not need it. Color search. Again, you can acquire an image. You do have to specify the filter name. You can see once you tab out of that, all my errors are now clear. Again, everything has an origin X and Y. You always have to adjust that for every part. They all run very accurately if you get a good XY position. Now I'm adjusting my inner radius and my donut width. And if you hover over, you'll see these have tooltips of which one they are. Donut width, inner radius, origin, X, and Y. And you'll also see when I adjust the inner radius, the donut width automatically adjusts with it. So you want to take that donut width, you usually go right on the outside of your wheel because obviously your sticker is not going to be off of it. It's usually in somewhat a fixed position on one of your spokes. So I would give it a radius like this. So I'm just looking in this area for that sticker. I'll set up some default ranges. Now, in the range before I select my color, 30 to 40 is actually a very good range. It'll allow you to do a single click train. So I'm going to zoom in on this. because I only need to pick one point to grab a single pixel. You see how it's red now? Automatically populates all my values. Your minimum dot size. If you would like to, 30 is pretty good. You can go higher or you can go lower. And once you're happy with that, you save your part. Now if we go back to automation, we could try to do a locate on this. If we go specific, we select our AA, part that we just trained, and we select camera view, which is going to do a new image. Then we click on inspect. And typically you would do is you would move that part in your station around a little bit to make sure that you have got it and you got everything working. And that would be it. That is how you train a part in the Dominion Vision system.